so much for joining us today. My name is Elise Cochran. I am the Program Director for Dolphin Kids Future Ready Leaders, and I'm also a K-12 educator here in Vancouver, BC. Dolphin Kids, along with our sister company in India, Dolphin Pod, really want to thank you for taking the time today to log in and connect with us for our Wellness Reset webinar, which we're really excited to have you here and join us. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. We are going to be recording this webinar and it's going to be posted on our website. So in case you want to revisit any tools that Dr. Kang shares today or topics discussed, they'll be posted on our website for you to have access to. So if you're not being comfortable being in the live recording, I please ask you to turn your camera off. All mics will be muted during the presentation, and during our final Q&A session, there will be an opportunity to ask Dr. Kang questions, which that time you can type your question into the chat box, or you can unmute your mic when prompted. And we also have tons of free resources for you after the webinar, which I'm really excited to share with you. At the end of the webinar, we're going to share a link in our chat box to where you're going to be able to find these resources that our Dolphin team has put together and created that you can use with your children at home or on your first day back to school. So I'm actually just going to pull those up just to kind of give you a quick glimpse as to what those look like and where you can find them as we let some more people into the chat. So we have on our website, we're going to be adding Dr. Kang's video for the webinar, as well as our team created different back to school lessons for you that you can use right on your first day back to school. It includes full lesson plans for you to use in the classroom or at home, and also comes with lesson slideshows and worksheets as well. So we tried to provide some different opportunities and resources for you that you can use when you go back to school, and the link will be shared with you at the end of the webinar. Okay, so in true Dolphin Kids fashion, how we start all of our programs, we're going to be starting with a deep breathing exercise. I'm going to be leading a rainbow breathing exercise. It is one of my favorite deep breathing exercises to do with students and adults. We start all of our programs with downtime because the science truly shows that it helps activate our brains, it helps us tune into our emotions, and it really gets our minds and bodies ready to engage and listen. So this is a great tool that you can use with your child at home or at school. And it's a really great way for them to kind of tune into their emotions, into their body, and kind of get nice and settled in before the webinar starts. So I invite everyone to stand up with me. We're all going to stand up. Wonderful. All right. So as we stand up, everyone can kind of stand in mountain pose. You're going to have your hands facing forward. And I would love everyone just to take a deep breath in through your nose. Raise your arms up. You can give yourself a big high five at the top. Awesome. Exhale down. Wonderful. We're going to do that 2 more times. Big inhale up. High five at the top. Exhale down. Awesome. And we're going to do 1 more time. Inhale up. And exhale down. Great job. So that one is called rainbow breathing. That is a wonderful tool that you can use in the morning, in the evening. As a teacher, I've used that in the beginning of my classes, just as a great way to start the day. It's a nice way to kind of get your body and mind in tune. So the focus of today's webinar is adaptability, mental wealth, and social connection in times of stress. Now, I would love for everyone to raise your hand, or you can even tap your brain if you felt stressed lately. I definitely have, and I think we can all agree that the pandemic and things that are going on in our society today have brought about feelings of nervousness, anxiety, and stress in all of us. And it's really been a true test lately in our ability to adapt, be flexible, and cope with uncertainty. And now with a new school year right around the corner, a very different school year, understanding more tools for social, emotional, and mental health are more important now than ever before, which is why we're very fortunate today to have Dr. Kang as our speaker for today's webinar. Dr. Kang is an award-winning Harvard-trained psychiatrist, researcher, media expert, best-selling author, and international keynote speaker. Dr. Kang is passionate about providing science-based tools that optimize the power of the human brain. She's a clinical associate professor at the University of British Columbia and the author of the best-selling book, The Dolphin Parent, and The Tech Solution, which is just launched and is available for order. She is the founder of Dolphin Kids Future Ready Leaders, CEO of Spark Mindset app, and the host of the YouTube show Mental Wealth with Dr. Shimi Kang. She has received numerous honors, including the American Academy of Addiction Psychiatry and the YWCA Women of Distinction Awards. Dr. Kang is most proud of receiving the Diamond Jubilee Medal for her years of outstanding community service and of being the mother of 3 awesome but exhausting children. And she's a dear friend of mine and a very inspirational leader to so many. So welcome, Dr. Kang.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to see people from across BC, Canada, and India, and probably some other locations joining us this morning. So, thank you for taking the time in investing in your mental wealth. That is my new term. I believe we need to go beyond mental health. Of course, we need that for sure, but really optimizing, protecting, healing our most powerful asset, our mind. And we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Now, I do want to just recognize the incredible work that Elise and our teachers have done. Those modules that Elise showed you are designed specifically for the going back to school with the pandemic in mind. So they speak directly about COVID and the pandemic and issues that we're facing. They are customized, and a lot of love and heart have been put into them. They're free, so please pass them around, and we really would love some feedback from you all. Okay, so today we're going to talk about adaptability, connection, mental health during stressful times. I'm going to give you prescriptions for each of these categories. You may say that is a lot to do in a 45-minute webinar, but if you've ever joined us before, you would remember what I say is our mantra, in the sense that when we understand how the human mind and brain work, and I actually have my brain right here, we're going to talk a lot about it. It's actually simple, but don't be fooled. Simple is not easy. So sleeping enough, drinking enough water, having dinner with your family, playing outside, these things are all simple, but trust me, they're not easy. And we actually have a deficit of sleep deprivation, dehydration, nature deficit going on in our adults and children right now. And knowing is not doing. So we know these things are important, but that doesn't mean we're doing them. The key really now is to get to the doing. When we get to the doing in a consistent fashion, we can become the person we want to be. We can optimize our mental wealth. So now I'm going to ask you all to think about, I'm launching a poll. I'm going to ask you all to think about the question here in this poll. So here we go, relaunch, continue. All right, so what self-care practice do you need to do more of? So, what do you know works for you? That's simple, but not easy. So let's see what everyone says. Okay, we got all kinds of answers here. I'm going to end the polling, so jump in if you can. Here we go, and I'm going to share the results. All right, so all of the above came as number one, and isn't that, that's predictable in the sense that we all need to get more closer to honoring ourselves, our biology, how we are made. I often say that we humans have forgotten what it means to be human. We've forgotten that we need to sleep, move our body, connect socially. And that's why the first book I wrote was called The Dolphin Way, which became The Dolphin Parent, because really what I'm trying to say there is we can look outside ourselves to see ourselves. Look at another mammal that's adaptable and curious and collaborative, and what do they do, and what are we meant to do in our biology? So thank you all for answering, and let's hope we get closer to the doing after today's webinar. Okay, so the being is what we want, and I believe life can seriously be summarized in this slide. Now, you might be like, what? Have a really close look at this slide. To me, this represents our state of being. Essentially, if we simplify it, we have two modes of operation, and we're either in one or often in between both. So we are either in what's called the survival mode, running from our sympathetic nervous system. Wait one sec, sorry, I'm gonna get my little pointer here. There we go. Running in our sympathetic nervous system. In this system of stress, which we are feeling, and in fact, stress was the #1 health epidemic prior to the pandemic, and of course, it's even higher now. The only thing that happens here is freeze, fight, or flight, our stress response. That's it. And really what we want is to live in growth. This is our parasympathetic nervous system. This is where the rest of life happens. This is where all growth, all learning, all recovery, all repair, all creativity, all love, all joy, all happiness occur when we are in this state of being. So this is simple, but not easy. And we're gonna learn today how to move from here to here, survival to growth. But first, let's understand exactly a bit more of what we are in. Freeze, fight, or flight in nature is a deer in headlights, a tiger roaring, or a bird flying away. For humans, our freeze is anxiety, procrastination, indecisiveness, or we get controlling, we micromanage, we become perfectionists. Our fight is irritability, anger, or rage, and our flight is distraction, avoidance, alcohol, shopping, social media, video gaming, any form of distraction or avoidance. So your second poll question is, what is your dominant flight response? So I'm gonna just launch it here, one moment. Oops, and that one was the wrong one. There we go, poll number 2. Okay, what is your dominant stress response? So take a minute and think about it. For me, it is definitely fight. I get irritable, I get angry, I think nobody knows what they're doing, and I get frustrated, and I definitely go into that fight. I rarely get anxious, but I do tend to get quite distracted and avoidant. So it just depends, but mainly I know I'm a fighter. Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll, jump in. I'm gonna share results. So yes, our primary response here is fight. We also got a lot of flighters and some freeze, and a big mix of all, which can certainly happen. Sometimes I say when I'm stressed, I'm a tiger, I fight, and when I'm exhausted, I flight. This is really important to reflect on because if you're a teacher in a classroom and you're feeling stressed, you have to understand that maybe your irritability, your frustration with the principal or a coworker or a student or a parent is partly coming from that stress response. And what's really interesting is ask yourself what the significant other in your life, if you have a partner or a child or a coworker or anyone that maybe you're having some difficulty with or you interact with, what is their dominant stress response? I think my husband's on this call. I'm a fighter and he's a bit of a flighter. He avoids and it can be a mismatch sometimes. Sometimes it can work pretty well, but it's interesting to note that. And with that awareness now, you can move ahead with an understanding and less judgment in terms of people that are around you. And if you're seeing that reaction in someone else, a parent who's being irritable or really anxious or avoidant, again, coming from a place of non-judgment and compassion and understanding, now that you know how the brain works. Okay, so what we want is to get out of here. This is a primal reaction that comes from that survival instinct. It is very deep in our brain, in that amygdala, and we want to get out of that. And we actually want to be up here in a place where we interact with our world and we are making choices. Now, I showed the brain, but I want to make it clear that we actually have 3 brains. We don't just have the brain in our head. And I think this is the key to social emotional learning, to really understand that we have intelligence that's beyond our cognitive intelligence, beyond the learning of academics. And in fact, our intelligence, main intelligence, sits in our heart. And our primary primitive intelligence, base intelligence, sits in our gut. So let me explain that a little bit further. So our gut has neurons. In fact, the majority of our body's serotonin receptors are in our gut. This area of intelligence is very sensitive to security, safety. Think about when you're scared, you feel it in your gut. Children get tummy aches when they don't want to go to school. This is a primal intelligence for safety and security, and it can get regulated through the breathing practice that Elise showed us, or any kind of breathing practice, and it really gets fired up when we're in that survival mode. Our second area of intelligence is our heart. Our heart has over 60,000 sensory neurons, and they are intelligent for our social relationships, how we feel about each other. This is why in a classroom, you can have wonderful lesson plans and it seems pretty safe. But if there's a social issue, there's bullying in the classroom, or the students don't feel comfortable, the relationship isn't there, then this will fire. This heart neurons actually run the show. Our heart, we know now in recent science, sends more signals to our brain than the other way around. So we need social emotional learning to get to the head learning, which is what is the cognitive intelligence. So our technical knowledge, our ability to problem solve and strategize. So to sync these up, now we are functioning from full intelligence, from full consciousness, and our intuition will kick in. And this is so important now during the pandemic, because we don't have the answers to things. We have to figure it out as we go along. And we actually now have to rely on our intuition at times when maybe we see a child and they look sick and you're not sure, is it allergy, is it fever? And you can think about it, but you also have to get to that knowing. And when we sync up our intelligence, it's a much easier decisions will come our way, less indecisiveness, more strategic and more compassionate decision making. So play, others, and downtime is the pillars of our Dolphin Kids programs. We incorporate these in every single lesson. And you saw the downtime. We're going to do some others today because we're going to have some Q&A, and we're definitely going to play, meaning really being open to learning, trying new and different things. So I'm going to go through each of these prescriptions. Now, getting back to our survival versus growth, a really fun question that I like asking students and kids and teachers and people is, if you were being chased by a tiger, what would you not do? And the answers are actually the things, the activities, the practices that will move you from survival to growth. So for example, if you were being chased by a tiger, would you stop and take deep breaths? You wouldn't. You would have shallow, rapid breathing. If you were being chased by a tiger, would you stop and be grateful for 3 things in your life? Of course you wouldn't. You would be looking for an exit or trying to escape. If you're being chased by a tiger, would you have a meaningful conversation? Would you bond socially with someone? No, you wouldn't. You're thinking of your own survival. If you were being chased by a tiger, would you play? Would you do a cartwheel? Would you twirl around? Would you pick up an interesting leaf? Would you look at the sky? No, you wouldn't. So curiosity, play, recreation means recreate. So these activities, these play, other, downtimes, are very purposely targeting our intelligence, our 3 layers of intelligence. They are coping skills, but they are also brain optimizing skills. So your next question in our polling is, what type of activity, one moment here we go. What is your favorite way, or the way you have figured out to move from survival to growth? So please answer this question. Look at these 3 categories and see what you're doing. What's really interesting about this is some people do a lot of one and they're like, you know what, Dr. King, I'm doing tons of breathing and tons of self-care and I sleep enough, but they're not socially connected. And that heart intelligence is firing. They have an imbalance of what they're doing, or they're not playing. They might be socially connected, but they're not stimulating that intelligence in their brain. So I'm gonna end the poll and share my results. So our favorite way in this group is downtime. Great to hear. We have some others and we have some play. So that's great. And in fact, depending on the condition is really important because really it's about a balance. We need all of these activities. And I think what's wonderful about this is for kids, we can bring all of these into the classroom, and we don't want to just think that, you know, some kids don't like mindfulness and breathing. So we have to give them other opportunities for stress response. Okay, so our wellness prescription today is endorphin, meaning that any kind of downtime activity. So we start with the gut, we do our regulation, we breathe, we practice gratitude, we settle into our classroom, our event, just like we did today. With that downtime, we're moving from survival to growth. It's not something you would do if you're being chased by a tiger, and you're gonna get some endorphin. Endorphin is our neurochemical of calm, of peace, in fact, of bliss. Who wouldn't want it? It's endogenous morphine, and we know that self-care practices, mindfulness practices lead us there. So box breathing is one. Another technique you can use in the classroom. We have a video on it in your link. I have a YouTube channel where I go through it, but it's very simple. You inhale, you hold, and you exhale and you hold. And the reason why, those receptors in the top and bottom of our lungs are sensitive to pressure. And when they're held and stretched out, they will expand and send a signal to your brain that you are okay. If you add that to a cognitive mantra or a cognitive affirmation of I'm feeling blank right now. So this is recognizing the survival reaction of freeze, fight, or flight. So I'm feeling anxious right now. I'm feeling irritated right now. I'm feeling distracted right now. Fill in whatever your word might be. Yet I know it will be okay. And you can add something. If I play, if I hug my pet, if I close my eyes, if I wait it out, if I talk to someone, whatever thing that would be a coping skill goes here. This is a very effective tool when you combine it with breathing. I do it all the time in my clinical practice for people of all ages. And what it's doing is it's signaling our survival, and it is moving us, is signaling the survival system that we've heard you, and it's moving us to growth with that self-care practice. Okay, we're gonna take some questions now. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Elise, can you pass on any questions that might be headed our way?
Yeah, definitely. So thank you to everyone who did submit questions when you registered for the webinar. We had some really amazing questions being asked. So one that I find really ties into the freeze, fight, and flight stress response, Shimmy, is how do we handle the unknown of returning to work in a school?
Right. So, you know, uncertainty is very stressful. You know, we have in our brains something called the negativity bias. And a negativity bias is a ancient kind of survival mechanism where if we don't know something, it's actually safer to be scared of it. You know, if you don't know what the berry is it poisonous or sweet? It's better to think it's poisonous. So we have to understand that that's really firing right now, and because of the unknowns, and you don't have to believe your thoughts. So, you know, if you're really in that stress response and you are anxious, irritable, and distracted, and your negativity bias is catastrophizing, and we don't necessarily have to believe it. Practice your breathing, practice your mantra, and then start with practical decision making. Okay, what is a problem that I need to solve? And when we take baby steps towards a solution, that actually really sends a signal that we're on the right track. So it can be very overwhelming with so much uncertainty, but my recommendation is start with one specific thing. How am I going to manage hand sanitizers? And really kind of focus in on that and use your community or pod to solve it.
Great suggestions. Awesome. Okay, so the next question I have that falls a little bit under the mental health thing is by Mayuki. She asked, what are some back to school strategies that can help kids get into the right mindset?
Yeah, so we're going to go through more of those now. And of course, the modules that Elise showed have really specific tools that you can also use at home. Now, as a parent, I have 3 kids. They're all going back to school. Really what we know kids respond to is truth. So you want to tell them the truth. You don't want to sugarcoat or hide anything from them. Reassurance, they are children. They need reassurance from adults in their life. So tell them that, people are working hard, that, the truth that there are going to be uncertainty, there is some risk, yet these are the precautions, these are the protocols in place, and some optimism, meaning that things will be okay, not necessarily a big bold lie, but, if things aren't going right, I'm here as your parent, and we are going to work together and find the solution. So some optimism that they are supported in a collaborative way. We know children actually respond, and in fact, what they need most is a sense of structure. So that's that kind of firmness of the jellyfish, of the dolphin parent, not being a jellyfish. They need some structure, so start creating those routines. And they need a sense of a warmth and loving environment. Those are the keys after decades of research. So if we can bring that in, some sense of structure, predictability with a sense of warmth in your home or your classroom, you're really headed, you have the 2 things that you need.
Wonderful. Another question I have from you from Sue. My 8-year-old daughter is no longer motivated to learn things and just wants to stay at home and play on her iPad. Is there any ways we could re-motivate her?
Okay, so our next section is going to be about motivation and connection, but I do want to talk about technology because I think that's a key. I am seeing a rise in, and I'm sure all of you are seeing a rise in kids on screens. The data really shows that. Prior to the pandemic, teenagers were checking their phone 150 times a day and on tech 7 to 9 hours outside of homework. Profound health effects in terms of mental health, links to anxiety, depression, addiction, body image disturbance, loneliness, physical health effects in terms of back problems, sedentary behavior, sleep deprivation, obesity. So really across the board, social effects in terms of reduced social skills and ability to communicate in real life. So, my book, The Tech Solution, I have it right here, really goes deep into the science of technology, how it's impacting the developing brain, and more importantly, what to do about all this. We need to move from screen time to screen quality. We need to understand that technology consumption is very similar to food consumption. There are ingredients to it, and those ingredients are cortisol when we use tech in a stressful way, and that could be sleep deprivation, but it could also be cyberbullying or FOMO or comparing your life to others. We use tech in a junk food type of way, like snacks, like chips and mindlessly eating sugar. That's scrolling or zoning out in a video game. And we can use tech in a healthy way. That is tech that leads to endorphins from self-care. So Fitbit, sleep apps, mindfulness apps. Tech that leads to connection, so meaningful social connection, community building activism, or tech that leads to any creativity, so innovations, learning, building websites, coding, making music or art. So tech that leads to care, connect, and create. So I would love to do more. Maybe we'll do a webinar on tech specifically in the future. It's such a hot topic, but if you understand that, and you understand that tech has persuasive design, that question about the little girl on the iPad, on one end of the screen is a immature, underdeveloped brain, and on the other end is the most sophisticated neuroscience that we know of. So kids are getting hooked through the dopamine manipulation, and we really need a plan and to go deeper into that conversation. Thanks, Elise. Okay, we'll get back to our slideshow here. Let's find out where we were. We were here. Okay, so now getting to the others, our social connection. This is oxytocin. This is our prescription for connection in your classroom. Start with your downtime, regulate the brain, do your breathing, get everyone together. Now make sure your relationships are in a good place. Like I said, the heart will fire adrenaline if it doesn't feel safe in a relationship, but it will also fire oxytocin if it does feel safe and bonded. And so this is really key to learning, to motivating each other and in our home. So of course, our program is called Dolphin Kids. And for any of you who don't know the metaphor we work with, there are 3 types of interpersonal styles. There is the authoritarian shark. This could be a very well-meaning parent or teacher, but overly micromanaging, overbearing, overstructured, and that doesn't work over time. Kids get anxiety, or they don't want to take a risk, or it doesn't lead to the independent critical thinking we want. We don't want to be a permissive jellyfish, which is too lenient, not enough rules, not enough expectations. There is no focus. We want to be that collaborative dolphin, firm and flexible, moving forward together. So my poll is to ask you now, what is your, hold on, let me get my polling up. So the poll here is, what is your, number 4, stress response. And these really come from a stress response. When I'm stressed, I become a shark. When I'm exhausted, I become a bit of a jellyfish. So ask yourself, what do you tend to do? Because this is really important. It will impact your relationships and the motivation and your ability to motivate the people that you care about. Okay, I'm going to end polling, share results. Okay, most of us are sharks. Very few jellyfish in this group. All right, so imagine, again, now you're getting some awareness into your own stress reactions, what you tend to do. The knowing now is not the doing. Now we got to become and move further. And ask this question to your students. If you're a teacher, it's really helpful because they will see that maybe they're a bit of a jellyfish, and that's why you know, their friends are a bit bossy or bully them, or they don't stand up for themselves, or they're too much on this end, and guide them towards that middle place. Simple but not easy. So here's a simple tool. We call it the Dolphin Communication Tool. And really all it is like the body of the animal. It is a firm yet flexible, assertive, healthy assertiveness. Assertiveness is actually linked to so many benefits, yet when we look at people and ask them, how good are you at saying no in a healthy, positive way? People really don't know how to do this. So this may look simple, but ask yourself, how are you assertive? How do you say no? So let's say you're at a work event, let's say you're at school and you've done all your COVID protocols, and at the end, a coworker asks if they could catch a ride home with you. Now you don't feel comfortable because you're close and they're not wearing a mask or whatever it is. So what you want to do, simple, say, be firm. I just don't feel comfortable riding that close together. Yet flexible, can I help you call a taxi or Uber or help you find a ride? And it is so simple, but what happens is we either become the jellyfish and say, okay, and then we worry about it for days. I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? Or we become the shark and we say, no, I can't, in an abrupt way. And then we feel bad that maybe we were rude and it impacts the relationship. So really simple, not easy. Try it. The keys to communication are a bit more complicated, and they are laid out in your reference and in the blog. So don't worry about writing these down. These are the science-based keys to motivation. So all those questions about how do I motivate my kid or my students, it really comes down to this. So we need to be in growth, both parties. If we're going to motivate, there's no motivation if we're in survival. All that happens there is freeze, fight, or flight. When you start with a statement of empathy, now you are moving together shoulder to shoulder, and you are helping those heart neurons to settle. And we have mirror neurons that kick in, and now you're in the right place with the right alignment of your gut and heart to learn, You make a statement of autonomy, just in case there's any feeling of pressure. Autonomy really is a key. People are motivated to do things that they want to do. So you have to find the why for them, and then end with a statement of optimism. This activates our prefrontal cortex, releases serotonin, all those things we need to get moving forward. So it simply looks like this. Don't be a shark or jellyfish. Take some breaths, center yourself if you're going to try to motivate someone you love in your life. Make a statement of empathy, put yourself in their shoes, express their goals, not yours, that you want them to do well in math. You have to find their goal in terms of why they may want to do well, whether it's to play with their friends, have extra time, get to the next grade level, and a statement of success. So here is an example with a coworker. Let's say you're having a difficulty. Simply be a dolphin, breathe, statement of empathy. I would have similar concerns in your shoes. Their goal, I know you want to meet this deadline. Optimism, I think we can find a solution. So when you put it together, it's very powerful, looks very simple. Your child doesn't want to do homework. Take a breath. Don't be a jellyfish and say, oh my God, I can't handle this. Don't be a shark and say you have to do it. Make a statement of empathy. Sometimes I hated doing homework too, but you don't want to fall behind from your friends. That's their goal. Good thing it's not too much today. Okay, so the keys are really helpful. Again, you have them and try them in the classroom, try them at home. Really, they come from the science of addiction, and these are what we use to motivate people who are very dysregulated from a motivation point of view. Okay, our questions, Elise.
Wonderful. Okay, so we had a great question from Sandy. She asked, what do students who have not been in elementary school since March need first and foremost from their teachers?
Right. Yes, they haven't been there since March. So I would say what they need first and foremost would be social emotional learning, social emotional lessons, really building that bond with the children, having the clear recognition that there are adults that are here to take care of things. We do need your help, students. We need your voice. We need your input, but you want to give them reassurance and you want to start to build in very quickly those coping skills in your classroom so that you can have a reference point down the road when, let's say, something happens, they go to the bathroom and they feel like, it wasn't, the hand sanitizer wasn't there, or a parent calls. If you can identify 3 coping skills for yourself and your child in those categories of play, others, and downtime, it's pretty simple, but now you can reference back to them. So we have a video on coping skills in your reference sheets as well.
Great. The next question we had was, what impact has the lack of physical closeness to friends due to COVID-19 had on developing brains?
Right. So this is really, a big issue because socializing is not social bonding, and we need to get deeper in our bonds. Physical closeness is very important. Hugging, we want to do that, shaking hands even, and right now we can't. So what I would recommend is we have to go further and more intentional in the other aspects of social bonding. So for example, intentionally try to laugh together. That may sound a bit odd, but laughter actually releases endorphin and oxytocin. So lighten the mood. If you're a parent or a teacher, tell a joke. I'm not very funny, but I look for funny videos to watch with my kids, or really intentionally try to bring that humor in, because it really is a wonderful bonding tool. Music is another one. So in our house, we dance together in the kitchen a bit more than we used to. That also releases oxytocin, endorphin in your classroom. You can use music. Elise had some beautiful music that we began. And then from a social perspective, remember to be that dolphin, to keep those relationships healthy And to go further in bonding, we have to be vulnerable. So in fact, when we go deeper in our conversations, when we express what's worrying us, when we tell our students, look, I didn't sleep well last night because I was a little bit concerned about this. And then this morning, guess what? I did my self-care, I practiced my gratitude, I did the rainbow breathing that we do, and now I feel better. So role modeling and being vulnerable really moves us closer together.
Wonderful. I think you're quite funny, Shimmy. So.
Thank you.
Another question I thought was really interesting. Will mask wearing around babies and toddlers mean they will struggle with reading emotions?
Yeah, such a great question. So babies do rely on facial expression for neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is growing those neurons. And now people are wearing masks. So what we would want to do is around babies and young kids, of course, if you're a parent or in their bubble, you want to try not to wear the mask in that situation. Of course, it has to be safe. But also babies, our brains are amazing in the sense of we never have just one thing. There's a diversity, and diversity is so important in life, in people, and in our activities. So if the baby's lacking facial expression, guess what? They also learn through physical touch. So more massage, more hugging, more foot massage. Children love that. They learn also through voice. So manage and think about how you talk to them, bring more expression and intonation through eye contact. So you can bring in the other aspects as well to really balance out that lack of facial expression they may be experiencing.
And the last question I thought really kind of tied into connection. Is there one tool you really feel that could help strengthen bonds within this stressful time, especially if there's tensions or conflicts that have arisen in families or friends due to the pandemic?
Yeah, so simple but not easy. The one tool really is empathy. There is just so much science around. Doesn't matter how disruptive a relationship is or what is happening. When we start with empathy, when we put ourselves in their shoes, and that doesn't mean you have to accept. So approval and acceptance you don't have to approve, meaning let's say your child can trash the basement because you took the Xbox away. You don't have to approve of that behavior, but with empathy you can accept that that is what they did in that situation to manage their stress, and you are a parent and you can still have empathy for it and not approve it. So really it is our key tool as humans for connection and bonding, but when you add in the other keys, you will really see your relationship start to improve. Okay, so our third area, which is my favorite area, is play. So this is all about adaptability. We adapt through play. So if any of you have read The Dolphin Parent, you would have read the study that the scientists from the National Institute of Health took two groups of rats. One group was allowed to play and be regular rats with toys and wrestle and jostle. The other group was prevented to play behaviors in their environment. Both groups had a collar of a cat thrown in, which smelt like danger. All the smart rats ran into a hole, and the rats that were allowed to play slowly came out, sniffed around, realized there wasn't a cat, and they came out and lived a happy rat life. The other group died in the hole. That is the power of play. Play leads to our adaptability. Adaptability is survival of the fittest. Not the fastest or the strongest, is the one with the best fit in an ever-changing world. Play, believe it or not, now people are worried about academics, which is important, but the key to adaptability and resilience and moving forward in this uncertain world is going to be play. So we need to bring that in to our homes and to our classrooms. So play is actually a mindset. So don't think, oh my goodness, now I have to start playing in my classroom. It's really having a sense of trying new and different ways of doing things. The tic-tac-toe that our webinar started with was just a simple play activity. What it does is it signals, first of all, you're not in survival because you wouldn't play tic-tac-toe if you were being chased by a tiger. It signals you're in growth, you're ready to learn, and it really activates that cognitive brain. So bringing in that mindset of trying new and different things. When we evaluate it, that's just called research, but over evaluation of kids is a whole other topic that we're very passionate about. It is important to evaluate and get a sense of where they're at, but over evaluation we know is actually leading to perfectionism and reduced learning and links to anxiety and all kinds of stuff. So play is a mindset, but it is also specific activities. So we're going to go through each of them a little bit just to look at the diversity of behaviors. So I mentioned adaptability, which is survival of the fittest. Now, what's really important, there was a second part to evolutionary success. So whether you are a plant, a person, a school, or a government, you need to be adaptable, survival of the fittest, but you also need the second piece, which is diversity of the species, meaning we need to be around different people who think different from us. And I think I just want to bring that out there because diversity is a big topic right now, and to look at it beyond a historical context, but to an evolutionary context as to why it is so valuable. So play is a superfood of learning. There is body movement play, which is rough and tumble play, what kids naturally do. Now, during the pandemic, this is going to be affected. We don't have recess the same way, but doing things just like standing up, doing rainbow breathing, standing in your classroom, doing, reading while you're in tree pose, adding in some yoga, whatever you can do is very important because again, it moves from survival to growth, and our body is intelligent. When our body moves, our mind moves. What we can do is bring in more object play. Our hands are very intelligent, so try to get to the hands-on learning, whether it is drawing pictures, building a prototype, using duct tape, using your hands in a garden. We know that the hand and brain evolved at the same time. So get your hands in there and in nature, and that's a whole other topic. My next book is headed towards being called the nature solution because there's so much benefit in nature. So if you can, getting kids outside and looking at sunlight and getting their hands involved in any kind of play activity. Storytelling is a fantastic way to engage people and to get the lesson. So if you're stuck on a lesson, whether it's math and you're talking about triangles, tell a story, look it up if you need to. In our lesson plans, we have lots of references to stories because we are a storytelling species, and this is a activity of a brain that's listening to a story. When we tell stories of different people from different walks of life, our empathy centers, and now we can develop perspective for the character. So these are powerful. These are simple. You all know how to do it. These are ingrained and hardwired in us. Celebratory play, it used to be we would celebrate New Year's and, Halloween, and who knows what Halloween's going to be like this year. But we can celebrate simply by a family dinner. We can celebrate what we did in our day, what we're grateful for. You can do it in your classroom. We can bring in a sense of celebration for efforts. And when we do that, again, it moves us from survival to growth. And my favorite type of play is called imaginary play. Kids do this naturally, but guess what? We can do it, and we can teach our kids and students and each other imaginary play through the process of visualization. So visualization is extremely beneficial. The science behind it, and I have a video that goes into detail, is we have this area called the reticular activating system deep in our brain, and that acts like a honing beacon, looking for information that is relevant to us and disregards irrelevant information. So a lot of science of visualization is in sports. So if an athlete, my sons did this, my two boys who love basketball, they visualize the 3-point shots and they put the slide in there. So when they're watching basketball and when they're playing basketball, their brain is more honed into the 3-point shot, how you're standing, what the arc is, what the muscle formation is. And it's like a visual practice, and you're creating those trails. So visualization, close your eyes for a moment if you can. I'd like you all to try it. So close your eyes, get comfortable, and literally just for a few seconds, bring up the image that you want for back to school. What do you want to see in your classroom? What do you want to see in your home? What imagery comes up? It's going to be of learning. It's going to be of relaxation, of collaboration, of the excitement and of being part of a learning environment, laughter and happiness. Those are the images you want to bring. When you bring those images into your mind, then what's going to happen is your brain is going to look for information that's going to help support that imagery. So, you know, practice this, do this in your classroom, do it in your home, teach your kids, because it's easy. You don't need anything except for that wonderful brain of ours. You can open your eyes if you're done and go from there. Okay, so we're going to just move along. I'm not going to launch this poll because I want to make sure we have time for a summary slide and a few more questions. But ask yourself, what is your favorite play type? And see if you can diversify your way of playing, which will really help heighten that intelligence system that you have. To foster adaptability in the home or in the classroom, you want to try some simple things, which is have your students or kids try first before giving them instruction, if it's something that you can do that with. So, you know, you could say, all right, today we're going to write an essay about what you did this summer, and I'm just going to ask you to try that first, and no specific instructions, see what you come up with. And then if they're stuck, give a hint, not a solution. So then you can give some hints along the way. Encourage them to take healthy risks. You're going to see some really cool stuff that they might do. They might create a drawing or an emoji about what they did this summer. Who knows? But ask them to take healthy risks. And then, of course, the growth mindset praise effort, not performance. So play is our very important prescription for adaptability. The opposite of play is perfectionism. We got to get comfortable with making mistakes and learning through trial and error. If we ever needed this before, Dolphin Kids has been promoting this in schools for 5 years now. We definitely need it now. So in summary, your play others downtime, your gut, heart, and brain, head brain, these are not just coping skills. They actually lead to peak performance. They lead to our highest level of connection and intelligence, and they lead to what's called the future ready skills of CQ, consciousness quotient. These are the skills you've all seen and you've all heard. And if technology has changed the world, we knew this before the pandemic. Now we know it even more, that these are the skills that our children need for the future, and we need. So I am going to launch this poll. What is this question here is what, sorry, I'm going to just get my question up. All right, what future ready skills would you like to develop more of? So let's see what we say as we finish this talk, really with an intention to get into that top brain, get into that growth system, and really go into the school year cultivating any or all of these skills. So let's see. I'm going to end polling now. Okay, so creativity came out number one. Awesome. Creativity actually is, creativity and resilience are two sides of the same coin. You can't be resilient if you're not creative, because then you can't think of new and different things. So that is a great statement for all of us moving forward. Now, if you don't feel you're good at any of those future ready skills, or you're wondering how you're going to do it in your classroom, don't worry. Our brain and our habits or our intelligence are very similar to like trails in a forest. We have the ability to constantly learn and change how we do things through neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is this fancy word for hope. Meaning, if we walk on the trail of a new act, if you want to be more creative, you just got to start doing things new and different, get out of the same mold, try something new, take that risk. You're going to start walking on that trail of creativity. You're going to develop a trail just like in a forest. It's going to be just dirt and sand at first, but over time, if you keep walking on it, now you have a highway of creativity in your brain. So this is for everyone that we can learn and change. The summary slide for today's webinar is this slide. There's a lot going on in here, but I mentioned the tech diet, which is the premise, the central concept of my new book on technology. Well, we also have a life diet. We want to avoid stress, cortisol and adrenaline from a lack of downtime, connection, or play. We want to have happiness. We want to consume happiness, endorphin, oxytocin, serotonin through play, others, downtime. I talked about dopamine briefly, and we got to be careful of short hits of pleasure, which don't convert to happiness. These come from hunting, competition, video gaming, if you think of that, gathering, social media likes, and superficial socializing. We want to get to the bonding. So our last question as we finish this webinar is, I'm going to relaunch the polling here is, oops, sorry. And it is, oh, okay, we don't have it. That's okay. Ask yourself, what do you want to consume more of? Do you want more play, others, downtime? Do you want less dopamine, less pleasure, short hits, and get more of the lasting success? Do you want to reduce your stress? What can you consume? How can you change your life diet? Okay, I want to thank you all for being here. I'm going to move on and ask Elise for any final questions. We have a minute left, but I'm happy to go a few minutes later if you want to stick with us. And again, there will be more answers in the blog post that Elise is going to post with these resources. So thank you for your time. Thank you for the work that you do with students, with children, with families. We need you to be healthy, be happy, be strong, be motivated, and help all of us during this difficult time. So definitely want to end with that feeling of gratitude to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shimmy, and thank you so much. Immense gratitude to you as well, and thank you so much for taking the time. Every time I listen to you speak, I learn something new. Super inspiring, and I hope everyone who joined, thank you, and I hope you find lots of tidbits of inspiration as you head back to school as well. So I do have 3 last questions for you. How do you feel a regular meditation practice plays into our well-being and its benefits towards adaptability?
Ooh, oh my goodness. Well, I can talk about meditation for a very long time. I meditate every day. Meditation is actually, I'm not exaggerating saying completely changed my life because I have a genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. My body doesn't make collagen and I have significant chronic pain. And through meditation, I was able to get out of survival, which was pain, and where I was irritated, pretty angry at my life, and avoiding and distracting, into a place of growth and recovery where my body was able to heal. I was able to release my own endorphins and help reduce my pain. If you think of something you wouldn't do if you were being chased by a tiger, of course you wouldn't meditate. So if you think about that, it's so powerful to move us into growth. Now, it's not easy though. Meditation is simple, but not easy. And you don't always have to sit still and close your eyes. You can meditate. There's walking meditations. And in fact, mindfulness is a form of meditation. If we do things one thing at a time, if we eat and really focus on our food and be grateful for the energy that we're getting from the earth through that food, that is meditation, that's mindfulness. Multitasking is the opposite of meditation. And so we want to be careful of our multitasking where we're trying to do too many things at once. So just not multitasking is a good thing. Being mindful is even better. Going deeper into your meditation practice. And guess what? Kids meditate when they play or we're in flow states through athletics and sports. So, there's lots of variety of ways to do that.
Wonderful. And the last question I have for you, Shimmy, is from Amy. What is one thing I can do to build sustainability and adaptability in this time of rapid change?
Right. Thank you, Amy, for that question. I think, I hate to say it, but the one thing really depends on you. I would look at the play others downtime. Which of those is a bit of a deficit in your life? Which of those do you know intuitively you need to get more to the doing? For some people, it's going to be play. For others, it's going to be social connections. For others, it's going to be downtime. Whatever there might be missing in that diversity of practice that keeps us healthy is going to help you get closer to adaptability.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Always a pleasure listening to you speak. And thank you so much for everyone for joining. We all wish you at Dolphin Kids and Dolphin Pod, wish you the best of luck to starting your new school year. We hope you really enjoyed this webinar. Feel free to share our resources with other teachers, family members, colleagues. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email myself, elise@dolphinkids.ca or info@dolphinkids.ca. As an educator myself, I'm very passionate about teacher wellness and student wellness, so I'm always happy to help and answer any questions as well. And we have a full team of educators who are also keen to help out as well. So again, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Elise, for everything. Amazing. No tech issues. What an amazing leader we have at Dolphin Kids. High five.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
The link to our resources was put in the chat box. I'll post it one more time again, just so everyone has it. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm going to read the chat for a bit.
Yeah, I got some great comments.